Over-exploitation of nature's resources is a global issue. Deforestation motivated by business growth is having a devastating impact on the health of our planet, with long-term consequences to the unfortunate inhabitants. Trees and plants give us oxygen through photosynthesis. They also reduce soil and water movement through their root systems, and via the annual shedding of leaves support the endeavours of the army of creatures that create and inhabit the humus. Speaking in simple terms, the amount of moisture in this layer of soil determines whether the allergic and asthmatic people are going to have a better or worse year, whether the pollen and dust will be caught in the moisture and fall to the ground, or will it be sucked into the lungs or get attached to the mucous membranes, the skin, etc. Our climate and health depends to a large extent on, visible in these pictures, a thin layer of mountain soil, and under it sand, stones and rock, fallen leaves, and the whole world of more or less invisible to our eyes, hard-working creatures who every day are laboriously churning, ventilating the soil, absorbing and retaining the moisture, both that in the air in the form of fog and mist, and that which has already been condensed, soaking, evaporating and condensing many more times in a never-ending cycle. Today it is all contingent on how much rainwater is retained by this delicate layer, because on this depends the entire life and climatic activity of the upland system, and also down there. The mountain range of the area, all from here visible, and also some of it invisible, are canyons, peaks, gorges and valleys, all once pushed up by the rubbing together of continental plates, has for millions of years been shaped by rainwater. Over time, gorges and gullies are created by the running water eroding the soil, typically on a hillside. But our world has now been modernised. We have heavy equipment, legions of experts, hordes of enthusiastic investors, and such a gorge can be formed within a few days. Isn't that fantastic? Water flows downhill, and hopefully so should it continue. And there is no doubt where the top is, otherwise it would not be like that. From this picturesque mountain range, the rainwater rapidly flows downhill. It is here one should carefully impede its energy. Fortunately, one can still count on the fallen trees, stones and gravel obstacles to attempt to obstruct the speed of the flowing water. Gorges like this, powered by water from these fortunately available pipes, are being formed. They flush out everything that comes in their way: plants, roots, humus, stones, creatures, and even on such a short journey they can transport tens of tons of soil, flushing it straight into the creek. And also the roads in the forest, as you can see here, even though unused and forgotten for many years, now perform an effective drainage solution. Asphalted roads do it even better, because every one of them is equipped with a ditch, whose purpose is to drain the whole area. An excellent system for transporting everything that water can move. And what a surprise that the Baltic Sea is getting shallower, as it is being filled by the redirected mountain and forest remnants. Water should be absorbed by and stay in the plants. The thin soil, the mountain swamps, the ponds, the pools, the puddles and the peatlands. These tiny, drain-free ponds are after all very scarce in the area and urgently require attention before they are lost. However, it so happened that the mountains have become attractive and enticing investors with little or no understanding of the nature, climate or geological conditions without which it is impossible to conduct any sensible management of the area. Well, as you can see, we don't manage sensibly, we actively devastate. This is the mountain Pilsko. Pilsko is the second highest mountain in the Twiszek-Bishic mountain range on the border between Poland and Slovakia, where a few years ago it was decided to modernise the ski pistes. This picture was taken 7 years ago. Today, after the improvements, the slopes look like this. And the money keeps rolling in. The piste was expanded. The forest was obliterated. Forests, berry shrubs and thickets were destroyed, and the consequence is constantly active stone landslides. It's an impressive addition to the aesthetic quality of the rural landscape. The water flushed out the soil, resulting in a stone avalanche uncovering bare rock, and whenever it rains, it is being decoratively displayed. Skiing, at least in this century, will be doubly treacherous, with risk to life and limb or damaging the forest, which will take centuries to be reborn and repaired. Erosion after each rain deepens the gullies, erasing more of the forest. And over time, it will even wash out the supports of the ski lifts. And with the supports gone, the dreams of prosperity will also erode. The rainwater, instead of being absorbed, evaporated and condensed, supporting the biological processes and cooling the area, it is gushing down, creating new and deepening the existing gorges. Local climate will be affected, and the media will be low, because the river in the lowlands will be overflowing after the rains to an unprecedented degree, creating chaos and endangerment, and then it will dry out to an unprecedented degree, creating further chaos and endangerment, and further media attention and coverage. This mountain Prushoff, a few kilometres away to the west, close to the border crossing in Schwadron, located in the same landscape park. Business development has arrived to remove the plant life. The mountain was destroyed by heavy construction equipment. Trees were uprooted and pushed into a messy pile. A very unattractive sight. A vast area over many hectares. Bulldozers were used, removing this thin, climate-regulating, sensitive soil layer. And there the first signs of a catastrophe are emerging, already clearly evident in Pilsko. A fantastic educational tour is being shaped. On to Pilsko and further to the Prushoff mountain. I will be happy to arrange and guide such a tour. The first stage of 200 metres up under the ski lift supports, and then further on. Please wear your hiking boots so you don't slip on the rocks, and have an umbrella, because the rains in the mountains fall abundantly and come unexpectedly. The theme of the tour will be exposure of the rocks, soil erosion, plant succession, active desertification, stupidity, greed, biological illiteracy of the people, the politicians, managers, etc., charged with the conservation of this area. Stone deserts, deprived of the soil, have a low capacity to absorb water. Almost all of the rain flows straight to the mountain streams and to the river Sola. With heavier rainfalls, it is too much for the riverbed, and so it overflows, resulting in expensive work being undertaken to fortify the banks. However, it is the responsibility of a different ministry, and the decisions and projects are neither harmonized nor coordinated. Most of the time it would be cheaper to organize a system that retains the water in the mountains, on the spot that they fall. By shaving the trees off the mountain slopes, destroying the forest ecosystem, we remove their valuable climate balancing tasks, dramatically changing the local climate and not only the local ecosystem. Then the blame goes global, because always someone else has to be guilty. A multi-hectare stone desert, after being heated in the sun, will create thermal currents that, when rising up, will be drying the whole area. Not just a devastated slope, but an attack on nature's finely balanced ecosystem. After each heavy rain, the gullies will be formed, created on the slopes in such a ravaged area. The stones will be washed lower and lower down, and then create larger and larger deserts of stone. A stone avalanche is formed, and just like Pilsko, over time it will also uncover bare rock. Cursed will be the dreams of the ski lifts, and the soil will struggle to re-establish itself for another few thousand years. It's good that we have a lot of time and stabilised conditions. The same administrator, the same protected landscape area, the same experts in green uniforms. None of them became wiser after the damage has taken place. All the knowledge about biology, climate and geology they had reportedly gained during their university studies have been flushed away down the gullies. In the past, the mountain streams flowed here along the entire width of the valleys. Sola River was once full of backwaters, side currents, and forests were more plentiful. It is good to be reminded there are maps. They are from 1863, and even the oldest people don't remember it. The vegetation from which the water is constantly evaporating and then condensing was then more plentiful than today. The temperature fluctuations smaller. In the summer it was cooler. The water did not flow down as destructively as it does today. It stayed in place. It stayed where it fell, and for the ecosystem it is the most appropriate outcome. However, roadworks people, foresters, local governments decided that the world must be modernised, improved. The green areas drained, exclude vast areas from the natural local water cycles, and then call on Parliament to establish the Cabinet Climate Office. It worked. In the mountains, this office will have a special challenge, because the amount of rainfall here is twice as much as in the lowlands. The possibility of stopping it is more and more limited. Yet the solution to the whole climate stabilisation and balancing system in the mountains. And still the water is being drained. It dampens the profits. and yet the whole area is beginning to heat up. So today's problems with global warming can be compared with the situation of a driver driving around in a car with a hole in the radiator. It's not good for long. The difference is that the driver frantically looks around for the repair service, and our investors have covered up the red lights of the warning system and enthusiastically, with a smile, after each catastrophe, come rushing back to us with an increasingly higher repair invoice. But there are no repairs, just short-term patch-ups. For such profits, with no real effort, it is worth puncturing more radiators in subsequent systems and in subsequent investments until they run out of radiators. Because this business entrepreneurship, but this is again another ministry. Shipping.